Hello, people. How are you doing? Today, in our class, we will talk about formal and informal English. Um, this is a very interesting class because some of you sometimes mix the things up, and you see in the end of the class a good analogy to do between formal and informal English is that. Uh, It's like dressing. So if you go to a formal place, you have to dress formally. Of course, if you don't want to dress formally, you can go wherever you want. But to be uh, fully accepted in a place, you have to dress according to the dress code of the place. For instance, um, it's weird to go out to the beach dress a tuxedo, for example. The same way it's weird to go to a job place, university, uh, wearing a bikini, for instance. So it's the same with language. We have to pay attention to use formal or informal. Uh, the English speaker or writer has to use it according to the situation, right? And we here see something to show the difference between formal and informal. So formal is using serious text and situation, documents, books, reports, articles, business letters, and official speech. Informal English is using everyday conversation and personal letters. When you listen and read letters here, you can change it for email because people don't send letters anymore as it was before. Here's an example of formal English that you might come across in a book. As the price of $5 was reasonable, I decided to make the purchase without further thought. So this is the formal, and this, as you can see, is a bill of $5 from the United States of America, right? Uh, and then we have the informal way to say the same thing. It was like $5, so it was like okay. As you can see, there's some repetition of words. The rhythm is different. So this is informal. If you are in a situation that it doesn't require too much formality, you can use it without problems, right? So that's the thing about formality and informality. You have to pay attention when to use and where to use. And here is some comparison between the formal and informal English. And you see formal English, official, literary, academic, etc. Uh, so occurs in speech most of the time when somebody was prepared beforehand. Sentences are longer, more complicated. For example, Toyota's US sales bouncing back in March as substantial discounts helped to win back customers who had been shaken by the firm's mass safety recalls. So this, you can see this structure is a formal structure. Now we come to informal use in everyday personal conversations. Sometimes it's improvised. Uh, it's more relaxed. It's less monitored. Uh, and sentences are simpler and shorter. For example, did you see Toyota sales figures? Looks like the discounts have actually worked. So you can see it's more direct, it's less flourish than uh, the formal English. And here, sometimes formal English is related to written content, and informal is related to uh, spoken content. But actually, you can find different ways. But here I brought some examples, right? Uh, that can be a written content, and we discuss if can be formal or informal. Personal emails, forum posts, blogs, news, articles, books. So, as you can see, personal emails, most of the time, depending on who you are sending an email. If I'm sending an email to my coordinator, I try to be more formal. But if I send an email to my girlfriend, I tend to be informal. If I send a formal email to my girlfriend, she will not understand. She'll get bugged out a little bit. Forum posts, more informal, blogs, depend on the situation of the blog. News, depending on the news. Some news are more serious than the others. Articles, most of the time they are more formal. And books. Uh, Books also depend on the target you want to reach. And here I have a picture of An Invincible Memory. It's a book from João Baldo Ribeiro. And actually is the English version of Viva o Povo Brasileiro. I guess his most famous book. João Baldo Ribeiro is a great writer. And I put this book here because he himself translate his own book. So it's interesting because I don't remember any other writer that translate his own book, because translate is a really hard job to do. And then we here have the spoken content. We can get spoken content and everyday conversations, podcasts, radio conversations, talk shows. Most of them are informal English, movies, TV series, video games. Movies, for example, documentaries are more formal, but fiction, it varies. Audiobooks and spoken news. And here we have a picture of Jonas's Jukebox. Is a podcast from uh, Steve Jones, a musician, a British musician who was famous for being part of the Sex Pistols, a punk rock band from the 70s. And Steve Jones was the guitar player, one of the songwriters of the band. And now he's doing his podcast. And I love it because it most of the time he talks to old musicians, old rock musicians, and they tell stories, situations, and to me it's pretty funny because I like this kind of content. Um, and here we have, as I told you in the beginning of the class, to do the analogy between the dressing code and the speaking code, or writing code. For example, you see here we have a picture of Jay Z. You see, in one picture, he's dressed a kind of pink tuxedo, right? Supposed to be a formal dress for him. In the other picture, you can see he's dressing a coat uh, that it doesn't look like too formal. So it's the same. As you can see, it's the same person. So my tip for you is like you have to be able to use the formal and informal English because situations are different. If you get in touch informally with somebody and you start to speak formally, it sounds weird. Uh, like the same as you dress this pink suit if you are going to the beach with this pink suit. I think it's pink or salmon. People used to say that it's salmon. So in the formal language, you have official text, literary text, academic text. It's edited, so you have to make it better all the time you get in touch with it. And it has complex sentences comparing to informal. That is conversational, so it's less monitored, improvised, so many times you can use some structures that are not very typical, and It's more common to use simple sentences to reach your audience in a way. So these are some examples of formal and informal English. I hope you enjoy and see you next time. Bye bye.